Hello, I am Samuel Whittington. I chose the article Effects of Two Instructional Models, one on skill teaching and mastery learning, on skill development, self-efficacy, and gameplay in volleyball. It is written by Joyce M. Harrison, Lisa A. Priest, Connie L. Blakemore, Robert P. Richards, Carol Wilkinson, Gilbert W. Fellingham, and they wrote it at the Brigham Young University. It is in the Journal of Teaching and Physical Education from the year 1999. This was a study to determine the best teaching method between mastery learning and skill teaching for volleyball. This was done with college students only, and it focused on 6 items that included intention, retention, memory initiation, motor behavior, motivation, self-efficiency, and self-reliance. The evaluations included passing, serve, set, and spiking skills along with successful and unsuccessful game trials. The participants were scored as a pre-test, mid-test, and a post-test. The first thing they talk about is skill teaching. Skill teaching is basically you're learning a skill for the first time and you're just now starting to develop it. The main thing with volleyball, with the four things with the forearm pass, the set, spike, and serve, are mainly your hand-eye coordination, your memory adaptation, and your muscle memory. Right now, the skill teaching is pretty much showed them how it let them play with a light ball and a regular volleyball and different net heights between men and women, and also worked with serving distance between the net once they worked on their mechanics. Examination of how small teams and low skill players improve more positively, and the lower net and lighter ball help players who were just brand new, very inexperienced. Mastery learning is for those that have way more experience than most other players. It is mainly somewhat of a one-on-one, but also more of a team-based. For the master learning, it's got clear teaching objectives with predetermined performance standards that are arranged into subunits, each containing several learning tasks. Numerous formative tests provide feedback about student accomplishments for each objective and serve as inspirational technique to get better. Enrichments allow students who master the formative test to practice the task at a more stimulating level or to help others who have not mastered the task to get them up to par with the others. Also with mastery learning, it's a comprehensive evaluation that is administered to ascertain the student mastery of unit objectives and to determine grades. Group cohesiveness from results from group members working together to achieve a higher skill level, since 80% of the students must master the skill of the first subunit before moving on to the next subunit. And two, meta-analysis confirmed the positive effects on elementary, high school, and college students' examination performance, attitudes toward the content, and instruction, basically saying that they had a good positive feedback from everybody at different levels. Self-efficacy is the same as self-efficiency and self-confidence. Is as the players learn skills, they form impressions about their own abilities and worth, and they know what they're more confident in and what they're more comfortable doing. It also varies in response to different tasks and situational demands of the sport and how they handle it emotionally. Self-efficiency exerts a momentous effect on the performance of unskilled individuals if they want to continue or not, or if they need more help. Low skilled players had lower self efficiency in golf, swimming, basketball, and volleyball compared to other sports. And between male and female, males had higher self efficiency scores compared to females in the sport of volleyball. And this table right here talks about the differences between daily instruction for skill teaching and mastery learning. Skill teaching is basically warm up practices and where in which the players are doing just basic hand-eye coordination and muscle memory, getting the muscles relaxed and everything. Where the mastery learning is more of a formative testing where each skill previously taught and basically like skill teaching demonstrates like the arms and wrists together, keep rear down, right foot forward, arms away from the body, versus mastery learning will be pretty much the same way where it's arms and wrists are together, thumbs parallel, rear down, right foot forward, arms away from the body. In skill teaching, they do practice drills at least 20 minutes versus mastery learning where they work on correctives on task sheets until the skill is mastered. And and at least of a 16 to 18 out of 20 range. Anything less than that, they keep redoing it. Need practice for skill teaching. They just toss the ball to each other, start working their forearm passes to each other, getting warmed up, make sure they're good. And versus the mastery learning is they can do it without even having to look at each other and just have complete trust and confidence in each other. When the difference is in skill teaching, they do face ball and they do a triangle with each other where they just pass and block to each other. Versus mastery learning is where the forearm pass the ball clockwise 10 consecutive times, play mini volleyball, and among others. In the skill learning, they do a mini volleyball game, which is a lower net, a lighter ball. They versus mastery learning, where they do a play a full-on game with different subunits, and at least 80 to 85% students have mastered both of the subunits. For the methodology of how they got all their stuff, they used a total of 9 different methods. The first, they used 182 students, again, all college level, that comprised of 104 females, 78 males. They met 2 days a week for 16 weeks. They had 6 classes taught by 3 instructors. Each instructor taught one class in mastery learning, and each one taught one in skill model. So basically, all 3 instructors did a 1-on-1 for each one of their classes. In the skill teaching model, they worked on the forearm pass, set, serve, and spike were taught in the sequence. Sometimes they played a game of 3 players on each team, with all players functioning as the passers, setters, and spikers. Whereas if in a normal college or a normal game of volleyball, you know who your passer is, you know who your setter is, you know who your spikers are. They also did the mastery learning model, where students fulfilled daily tasks that contained developmental testing, correctives, and enrichments, and improved gameplay. Basically, they got better each and every time they did it, and their confidence and self efficacy went up. The teaching progression was split into 2 subunits, including subunit 1, which had forearm pass, set, overhead serve, and spike with no approach, or the 2-step. In mini volley games, subunit 2 included full court games, which was 6v6, 4 on offense, 2 defense, player up defense, serve receive, block spike with full approach and dive sprawl skills. The next method they used was a skills test, where they did a pre-test, a mid-test, and a post-test. The pre-test was given at the beginning of the 16 weeks, and the post-test was given at the end of the 16 weeks, and they did a mid-test at the 8-week mark. And they did this, the other one they did was self-efficacy scales were administered following the skill pre-test and preceding the midterm and the final skills test to see how much the players have improved mentally and emotionally in their confidence. The last 3 methods were the knowledge test, which it was administered pertaining to questions of technique, rules, and strategies to basically their knowledge of the game, their knowledge of what their coaches wanted, their knowledge of the techniques of which had to be used. Then they had the videotape analysis, where they had a camera come in and they filmed games and filmed practices and filmed them working on their skill development. They watched for forearm pass, serves, sets, spikes, and the players were made to adjust their strats and adjust their movements as needed by the coaches. The last piece of method was the statistical analysis, where after the instructors went back to their room and computers, they broke down all the film, wrote down how many did the correct serves, did the correct number of spikes, did the correct number of forearm passes, the accuracy in which everybody did all the skills, and then after they wrote down the data, they went to see who was excelling and which ones needed more practice, and which ones would need more practice needed to work on their skills the most. Here you can see the results of the self-efficacy test, after which the instructors reviewed the video analysis and the statistical analysis. They looked at this test first to look at the skill level of both the high skilled and low skilled and both the male and female. They did the pre-test at the beginning of the 16 weeks. They did the mid-test at the 8-week mark, and they did the post-test, which again which revolves around the self-confidence and self-efficacy and efficiency of players while playing the game of volleyball. This is the another table of the results of which they did the contacts of the pass, set, spikes per serve, and a game play by model and skill level players. Here they did one of the pre-test and the mid-test of the beginning and the 8 weeks. What they did was they have high skilled, low skilled, and all of skill. Mastery is high skilled, low skilled, and all, and both is high skilled, low skilled, and all. All is pretty much added between between the numbers of the pretest and mid-test, and of course you can pretty much guess and see that the high skilled was higher on the pretest than the low skilled, but the low skilled did get better as the time went on in the 8 weeks amongst the four areas of contact between the passes, set, spikes, and serves, which they were all working to get better on. Here you go, another results of this table. They did the forearm pass, the set, the serve, and the spike. Again, they did the skill of high skilled and low skilled. Again, the mastery of high skilled and low skilled, and both of high skilled and low skilled. Over here you see at the pre-test, which was at the beginning of the 16 weeks, and the post-test at the end of the 16 weeks. And the common thing, as you can see, is all the numbers improved greatly amongst all four things they worked on. So that tells the instructors that the methods were working and that the players, male and female, and skill mastery and skill learning, regardless of high or low, were all getting better as time went on. And they grasped what the teachers were showing, what the instructors were showing them. They grasped it, and overall, they're still starting to improve greatly for the teams. This is the last of the results of which they did, and this is a percentage of the successful trials of gameplay by model and ability. Again, a pre-test and a post-test at the beginning of the 16 weeks and the end of the 16 weeks, of which they graded the players on forearm passes, set, serves, spikes, and total trials. And from the pre-test to post-test, just like in the last table, all the numbers went up from all the players, both high and low skill, both male and female. This was an in-depth study of two teaching models with participants of all ranges of experience, again all in college. There were a few noteworthy differences between the two teaching models. Both techniques were effective in progressing player achievement. Using the sweeting and rink stages of gameplay, the following stages were utilized. Stage 1, controlling the object, which was the volleyball. Stage 2, combining skills while adding rules. 3, using skills with simple offensive and defensive strategies. Stage 4 consists of sports games where players learn rules, penalties, scoring, and their positions on the court. Self-efficacy was in the ability to control the volleyball was improved by all participants, both male and female. Students can improve significantly with either model as long as it creates a positive learning environment. Only 2 classes per teacher decreases the statistical power of the analysis. This simply intended to see which would be the best teaching method. The authors had no preconceived idea of which method would be best. They randomly chose college students that had all played volleyball in the past. All students took the same 2 classes. The authors only used these 2 methods. Further studies would be needed to ascertain better statistics. While I can appreciate the effort put into this study, the authors seem to be only concerned with 2 different teaching methods. More studies using players with the same level of experience be used would be more practical. One study with more experienced and one less experienced players. Men and women should perhaps be a separate study, would be more enable viable statistics, and that's what I think the only thing they need to be different between them. And I do agree with how they got their statistics with the video and the data analysis is the exact same way I would have got them. You get the film, review it, write everything down, and go from there.